now that our cookies is almost done, I want to talk to you about a little bit about the weather and how it interferes in your cookies. It's going to interfere in your cookie dough and also in your royal icing, but now I'm going to just keep talking about how the weather interferes in your cookie dough. You have to think that this dough is made basically by butter. So if you live in a hot place, the butter is going to melt fast. If you live in a colder place, it's not that a big deal. But if you live in a place that's always hot, it's going to be a little bit harder to work with it, but it's not a big deal. What I advise to you is that you freeze it before you freeze it before you start working with it. I personally do not like to cut the dough completely frozen, but I like to freeze it before I start cooking. So freeze it a little bit or until it's froze or almost frozen. And in my experience, I leave a little time, few minutes out. And when I feel that the dough is like not too soft, not too hard, that's easy to cut without losing the shape of the cookie, I do that. When you have this dough cold or froze, or it's easier because it's not going to lose the shape also when you're baking it. Once more, I'm going to ask you to remember that this dough is it's butter based. So if you put already a dough that's soft, in high temperature, it's going to spread completely. So usually I cut not too hard, in between, not too soft, not too hard. But before going to the bake, I freeze it. When it's frozen, I take and I bake it. Okay? So now I'm going to show you how to cut the cookie cutters that I use, the cookie cutters that I like. And just to let you know that we have cookie cutters in our store on Etsy. I'm going to leave the link in the description of the video. We have different cookie cutters, we have starter kits, and you have everything that you need to start your business with cookies. It's important that your cookie cutter has a thin part that's going to act as a blade, okay? So now, and it's also important that have a more thick area where you can pressure without hurting your hand. So let me show you, as I said to you, my cookie dough, I don't like too soft or too hard. I put here, I literally do that, and it's a little softer than I like, but what you can do is you can still take this. This is the point when it's a little bit softer than you like. You struggle a little bit more to take from the dough to the tray, but it's not a huge deal also. I like it a little bit harder, just a little bit, but is still something that I can work with it. It's not affecting the shape or anything. Give a space between them because at some point they can spread a little bit more and you're not going to see them sticky. So this part was a little bit more hard. And that's it. I think I don't have plenty of space for this one more. And you try also to find space for your cookie so you don't lose the dough. So, oops. Okay. This dough, you can literally put them together, close it, and open again and reuse it. But before reusing, I advise you to put it back on freezer or in the fridge. So guys, so far we have made the cookie dough, we have opened the dough, and we have cut the cookies. I just want to talk a little bit about baking. So Now that we did it, we're going to bake it in more or less 108 degrees Celsius. That's 355 degrees Fahrenheit for more or less 15 to 20 minutes, depends on your oven. So make sure that the cookies are going to be a little bit cold on the edges. That's the point. I'm going to show you too. But it's important that you use a shallow tray because the air can circulate between the cookies. And if you don't have a shallow tray, you can literally cook upside down, okay? You can use parchment paper or not. Once more, I'm going to ask you to remember that it's a butter base. So usually do not stick unless it's some type of material on the tray that's going to make stick, but usually do not stick. But if you're not secure about your tray, use parchment paper. That's going to be perfect, okay? And other thing that I want to show you is that if you have just a few cookies and it's not complete the tray or everything, you can put small pieces of cookie because the heat is going to be distributed equally between the cookies, okay? This is the information that I have to tell you. We are going to bake now these cookies, and I'm going to show you when it's ready. So guys, after 15 minutes, our cookies are ready. As I told you, it's going to depend on your oven, the amount of cookies that has in your batch, and the size of the cookies. But this small tray here with 4 cookies basically took me 15 minutes. One thing that I want you to see is that when it's hot, the cookies, since the dough is butter based, you can see that it's still soft. It's going to come out of the oven soft, but you can see that it's ready when the edges are golden. You can see the majority of them has the edges gold, and when it becomes when it cool off, it's going to be firm, not hard, because it's not a crunchy cookie. This is a soft cookie inside. Also, what I want you to see is that cookies that we literally put here to just make the heat distribute equally, since they are smaller, you can see that they cook faster. So that's what's important to you to understand. You have to put batches with basically cookies with the same size, because if you put smaller ones, they're going to burn and the other one is going to be good. So this is other thing that I want you to understand. And one more thing, if you see that your cookies are coming with bubbles, it's not a big deal also, but you can literally, before going to the oven, you can with a fork make a few holes so you can make that air spread and not turn into a bubble. Last thing that I would say to you is that if you want something that after cooling down, it's being equal, you can stack. So usually when they stack, we have like, let's say, softer or a better shape to decorate them, but it's not necessary. It's just a tip. I hope you have enjoyed it, and that's it. See you in another class.